Module 3 of the Virtual Institute for Capacity Building in Higher Education, VICBHE, under the auspices of the National Universities Commission, with technical support provided by the National Open University of Nigeria. Module 3 is on theory, practice, and future of academic planning in university education. The Facilitator General is going to continue with introduction and guiding us through this exercise. Once more, thank you for honoring our invitation and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Deputy Facilitator General Administration, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Technology, Innovation and Research of the National Open University of Nigeria. I join her in welcoming you to this event. This third module, our first module was on the quality assurance broadly. The second module was on accreditation. And here we are with the third module on academic planning. If we do not plan our education system, if we do not plan our universities, then we will not be able to achieve the vision and mission of our universities. That's why we have brought you to be part of this training. You're going to have very exciting times, and whether you are a director of academic planning or you're just a professor or a senior lecturer, a staff in the university system, you will benefit tremendously from this. The world of tomorrow is not a world of, say, I'm a professor of chemistry or I'm a professor of education, guidance, and counseling. It's a world where you are required, it's multitasking world, where you require different skills. So I congratulate all of you that have signed up to be part of this training. And we assure you that it's going to be quite an exciting journey, but at the end of it, fairly intensive. By the end of it, you will be glad that you were part of this. The next item that we'll have here is to get the to have the welcome remarks on behalf of the AUC Directorate of Academic Planning. Have Professor Biodun Saliu to give us some brief remarks. His brief remarks. Professor Saliu, you have the floor, sir. Okay, Professor Saliu will appear not to be in the room. So we're taking on welcome remarks by the Vice Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria. As I said, known as National Open University of Nigeria is the powerhouse behind all these training programs. You are not paid anything because it's free, but there's a cost which the National Open University is bearing. So we'd like to thank you, Professor Olufemi Peters, for supporting the National Universities Commission and, of course, the umbrella under the auspices of the NUC Strategy Advisory Committee in supporting this program. So over to you, Professor Olufemi Peters. You have 2 minutes to give your welcome remarks.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests and participants. I want to stand on the protocol established by the DVC technology, and I want to warmly welcome you to this third module of the Virtual Institute for Capacity Building in Higher Education of the National Universities Commission, and that is being delivered by the Strategic Advisory Committee. This committee has taken us through quite indefatigable Emeritus Professor Peter Okebukola, OFR. We at the National Open University are very glad to be associated with this VICBHE series in the quest to improve the fortunes of education delivery in Nigeria, especially through assured quality processes. These training modules have opened up many vistas to improving effectiveness and efficiency in the way we manage our university programs. We want to appreciate the Executive Secretary, Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid, the inclusiveness that he has brought to higher education through this series in Nigeria. And we must not forget to mention and appreciate the Facilitator General as well of this module, Professor Peter Okebukola, who incidentally is the chair of my governing council and has brought to bear a very wide experience that he has acquired over the years. To our participants, I want to assure you of a smooth delivery sessions, and I wish you a very fruitful and successful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Olufemi Peters. I can see all the grading facilitators from now are clapping for you. I'm also clapping for you. Our Director of Academic Planning, I'm sorry, I muted him earlier. That's Professor Biodun Saliu. He will now give us his welcome remarks. Over to you, Professor Biodun Saliu.
Thank you very much, sir. Facilitator General and Your Excellencies, it is indeed a great pleasure for us at the NUC to be part of this training exercise. I am speaking as the Director of Academic Planning, and as an academic planner myself, I cannot be happier having this training session in place, because I believe that staff of my department or directorate, and indeed academic planners of Nigerian universities, have a lot to benefit from this training program. And so we are indeed very happy that this has been put together, and we are going to step up our knowledge in the area of academic planning by the end of this training. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to this training session. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Biodun Saliu. Sweet, short, sweet, and very sharp. We now take on the goodwill messages from our remarks from our special guest of honor. We'll begin with Minister of Education, Professor Rukayat Ahmed Rufai. We're delighted, to have you. We're honored. And also Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs, both of you will give your remarks. Over to you, ma'am, Your Excellency, Professor Rukayat Ahmed Rufai.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, loud and very clear.
Okay. Okay, I'm quite pleased to be at the opening of something that we look forward to because of the transformation it is bringing to the Nigeria higher education sector. As I stated during the earlier modules, it is quite exciting that from the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, things have come out that are impacting positively on the education and other sectors. These training programs have made it possible for the utilization of technology to reach out and develop the capacities of a great number of our staff in the university systems across the subcontinent. This particular model will again bring to the fore for participants areas that are crucial to the effectiveness of the university system in meeting the objectives of education, skills, research, and community services. Academic planning, strategic plans, academic briefs, physical master plans, and university laws are topics to be covered in this important training program and are core to diverse aspects of university administration. I encourage participants to make the best of this. Finally, let me thank the National Open Universities Commission, ably led by our very own Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid, the National Open University of Nigeria, and of course our very own too, our able chairman, Professor Peter Okebukola, for the consistency in which the program has been initiated and is being implemented. Once again, I welcome all of you and wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mommy Professor Rukayat Ahmed Rufai. VC is clapping for you very well there. Can we ask people not to raise their hands? There's Iheyi Chuku with a hand up. We'll move on now to listen to our grandpa. That's Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs, who's our special guest of honor. Your Excellency, Professor Briggs, you have the floor, sir. He's the Chairman, Committee of Pro-Chancellors of Federal University.
Chairman, my dear colleagues, let me join my earlier speakers in welcoming everybody. I noticed that we're already more than 500 coming from all over Africa. And this is a great thing that is happening. If you recollect, you remember that it was on the 1st of June, 2021, that the Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission launched this virtual institute.
Yes.
The virtual institute was launched as part of the response to which was the revitalization of the Nigerian university system. And if you look at the virtual institute now, it is taking advantage of the opportunity that COVID, the side effect of COVID, the opportunity that offers us to go virtual and to learn from sources that are diverse and from different areas. So I'm very, very happy. This is the third one now. We've had module 1, module 2, and module 3 now is addressing the issue of academic planning. As the chairman, as facilitator general did say, if you don't plan, you can't get anything right. And the beauty of what we're doing now is that a lot of us are involved in what is happening. It's not just a question of doing academic planning just for academic planners or whatever. The more we are informed, the more we are educated, the better it is for the system. And I'm glad that a large number of us are involved in this now, and we are going to make something very great out of it. I thank you all. For those of you who participated in the first two, you're very pleased with yourselves, I'm sure. You're flaunting your certificate, which is not virtual. You have a hard copy of your certificate. You can show to everybody. At the end of this module, again, another happy lot of more than 500 persons would have graduated from our virtual institute. I thank you all for enrolling. I thank our Facilitator General. I thank the National Universities Commission. I thank the National Open University for this wonderful thing that is happening in our country. I believe we're on the right track, and sooner than later, we will be able to rectify at least some of the ills in our national university system. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir. Emeritus Professor brings our grandpa for that beautiful remarks that you've given us. We'll now move to the goodwill messages. I will begin with the Secretary General of CVC, Professor Yakubu Ochefu. We thank you for making it because you were on mission to your to outside Abuja. So you have the floor, sir, for 2 minutes to give your goodwill
thank you
message.
very much. Thank you very much, Facilitator General, Vice Chancellor, National Open University, and other distinguished guests. Again, I'll just re-echo what Professor Nimi Briggs, Chairman CPC, has just said. Over 500 people. I've seen the numbers. When I logged in, the numbers were like about 395, and it kept popping up, and now we're over 500. It means that this virtual institute has delivered on all fronts, and its acceptability is such that people are now beginning to understand its importance, its essence, and how it will add value to the higher education system, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. So I would like to thank the NUC for driving this project and the consistency. You know, the thing works like clockwork. Facilitator General has been on this, and we know that at the end of this exercise, we will have gained another very strong group of academic administrators who are going to help to improve our system. On behalf of the Vice Chancellors of Nigerian universities, I thank all of you and wish you all well in this particular module. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you so very much, sir. Professor Yakubu Ochefu, speaking on behalf of the 201 Vice Chancellors. He has all the tongues of the 200 Vice Chancellors rolled into it because the VC of National Open University is here in person. So, but you are here. Thank you very much, sir. We're going to Burundi, and we're going to have the chairman of the Burundi National Council for Higher Education, Professor Juma Shabani, to give us his goodwill message. Over to you, sir, Professor Juma Shabani.
Thank you very much, Facilitator General, the NUC Executive Secretary, the Vice Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. on behalf of the Burundi National Commission for Higher Education, I should like to congratulate the organizers of this event on the launch of this training program on academic planning. Our commission has already fully benefited from the first 2 training modules, and I thank you very much for that. And we are looking forward to the skills that our 2 participants will gain from this 3rd module. Once again, congratulations and God bless you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Juma Shabani, who is also the president of the Burundian Academy of Science and Technology. He used to be the director and representative of UNESCO in the Harare cluster office, the Bamako cluster office, and then in Paris. This is UNESCO juggernaut. Thank you so very much, sir. We get on now to Zimbabwe, and we're going to have, as I introduced him earlier, my age-long friend, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Zimbabwe National Council, or the Zimbabwe Council for Higher Education, Professor Kuzvinesta P. Jimbo. We have quite a number of participants, senior persons from the Zimbabwe higher education system and also from the council as participants at this event. So over to you, Professor Jimbo. Let me see whether he's muted. Yes, okay, I'm so sorry. I'm asking him to unmute himself now. Also make him co-host, yes.
Thank you very much. I have unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, loud and clear, loud and clear. Yeah. Can we see you, by the way? Because we like to, that's a minimum standard. We like to see who is speaking to us. If you want to activate your video.
For some strange reason, my video is not working well.
No problem at all. Please go ahead. Go ahead, yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Peter Okebukola, the Facilitator General. Once more, I'm glad to be with you again in this on this occasion. Let me also recognize Dr. Bioduni Saleyu and also Professor Olufemi Peters and all distinguished guests. I feel greatly honored once more to be associated with the National Open University of Nigeria. I used to be quite close to the institution during the time of Professor Olujegede. And most importantly, as a graduate of Ahmadu Bello University, where I got my master's degree, I'm very, very pleased to be back to West Africa.
Good.
Thank you very much. I think this is a fantastic occasion for us within responsible for academic planning in our institution. And as a former vice chancellor and as a former deputy vice chancellor, I see and know the importance of this webinar, this virtual meeting on academic planning. But most importantly, because our institutions during this COVID era, we now have to transform the appellation that we call the university so that we can make use of the affordances of ICTs in educational planning and the manner in which we use data and the manner in which data analytics becomes critical in academic planning. At the moment in my country, my institution is at the center of developing a higher education management information system, which is critical for higher education planning or for educational planning in general. So I'd like to congratulate you, Professor, and the Vice Chancellor of NOUN for creating this virtual opportunity so that all of us in Nigeria and across the African continent, we can benefit from the experiences in your country and experiences in other African countries. And this is why I asked quite a number of my colleagues within the higher education system in Zimbabwe to be part and parcel of this great occasion. Congratulations, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Have a nice day.
Thank you so very much, Professor Kuzvinesta Jimbo, for your goodwill message. We're happy to note that you are a product of a Nigerian university, great Ahmadu Bello University. By the time you mentioned it, Professor Nimi Briggs was clapping because he was a lecturer, a professor at Ahmadu Bello University in 1925. So well done, sir. Now we will take, we're going in some order. We'll take the big boss. That's the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. He arrived that post, that desk, with a bang. And in the 1-2 months that he's been Secretary General, he's turned the place around positively, moving, galloping, like the winning horse that is going to be. So I'm going to invite Professor Olushola Oyewole, Secretary General, Association of African Universities. By the way, he has asked some of his colleagues in AAU to be facilitators for some of our of the lessons. So we are very appreciative of that. And Professor Oyewole, you can see we have how many? 560 people here, and it will run throughout the course, a 6-week course. And you can see what Africa can do, what we can use technology for. And you were part of the first and the second modules in terms of giving us intervening at some point. So you can see, sir, we will make available this platform for you. If you have training programs, this can be easily delivered on this platform. A pleasure to invite you to give your goodwill message. Professor Olushola Oyewole.
Thank you very much, sir. The Association of African Universities, being the lead agency on higher education for the African Union Commission, is very proud to be associated with the Virtual Institute for Capacity Building for Higher Education. I congratulate the National University Commission and the Executive Secretary for this capacity building program on academic planning. We are very proud of our distinguished professor and AAU African Higher Education Ambassador, Professor Peter Kutukwala,
Thank you.
and the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Nigeria, Professor Olufemi Biyi, who are the lead facilitators of this program. We are in the process of adopting the Virtual Institute strategy in our capacity building initiatives in Africa. We wish all the participants good training experiences and look forward to future collaborations with the organizers of this program. AAU is committed to the advancement of higher education in Africa, and we believe that to develop Africa, we need to build the capacities of the higher education practitioners. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir, and God bless you too. God bless you. We are proud of you being our voice of higher education in Africa, and we thank you for your goodwill message. Now we're moving to one of the highlights of this opening ceremony, and that is the keynote address to be given by Michaela Martin, that I introduced earlier, from the UNESCO International Institute for Educational Planning in Paris. Michaela, you are a big fish that we have caught, so you have 20 minutes or less to give us your keynote address. Over to you, Michaela.
Thank you so much, Peter, for this very warm welcome. And I can assure you that I feel truly honored to be with you at this important launch of Module 3. So I understand that there are already 2 modules that have taken place in this course on higher education governance. I would like to say, give my greetings also to all the high-level speakers and guests at this important launch event. Peter, you are a great mobilizer, and this is how I know you for the past 20 years. So you are up to the standards again.
Thank you.
Is it coming?
Yes, it's here.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Oh, yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I understand, and Peter, you informed me about this before, the course is about higher education governance and management. You are also reaching out to higher education institutions directly, vice chancellors being part of this course. I think it's a very important focal point of capacity development in higher education. Higher education takes place in higher education institutions, but of course we need also an appropriate policy framework and governance instruments like quality assurance. And the topic that I want to address in my presentation today, shortly of course, and I'm mindful of the fact that I have only 20 minutes, is the link between strategic planning and quality assurance. And so what I want to address is perhaps a short reminder of what we understand by strategic planning and perhaps problematize it a little bit. What do we mean by strategic planning in a university? And what is the link between strategic planning and quality assurance? And I have actually chosen this entry point because I have observed over, let's say, 15 years of working on quality assurance, on both quality assurance and planning, that often at times the two remain in rather distinct management functions. And I personally believe that they are most effective if they are interrelated and if they feed into each other. And that's the point that I would like to address today. And so perhaps come forward with some suggestions or some points of reflections, how we can achieve the best synergy between the two. So concept of strategic planning, I think for many of you, this is really a reminder. So what is a university strategy? An organization strategy and also a university strategy is a pattern of activities. So it's what we do jointly and where we seek to achieve the objectives of the organization. So we are deploying our strategies to achieve the objectives of the organization and adapt its scope, resources, and operations to environmental changes in the long term. And I think this is also the particularity of strategic planning in comparison with let's say a more traditional or pre-strategic planning concept, which is planning in such way we didn't look so much into the interrelatedness between our university strategy and how it adapts and how it builds actually on a changing environment. So this is a definition that has been presented by one of the gurus of management, Peter Drucker. So the aim of strategic planning is to build a distant future for a changing environment and to constantly be aware of the changes that are taking place and they are affecting the higher education institution. So a strategy serves to identify the long-term direction of an institution. We can be very much stronger if the different strategies that emerge are crowded together into a coherent university strategy when we formalize the strategy into a planning document. And I think that is really important. And then, of course, when we take the necessary steps to achieve the stated objectives, usually we transform a university strategy into yearly action plans and also into subcomponents. And I think academic planning is part of it. It's part of a university strategy, but the university strategy is, of course, broader as it looks also into resource strategies. It looks also into real estate planning and the like. And I think something which is really important is to monitor progress in implementing the strategy. Because what we have also learned over several decades is that quite a number of university strategic plans, they are developed with a lot of effort, often in a consultative manner, but then there is no monitoring and evaluation that takes place of the implementation. And also what is often highly neglected is actually the link between the action plans and the yearly budgets. So we can only feed a university strategy into action when we are aware of monitoring on a continuous basis, when we evaluate at the end, and when we are thoughtful of the link between action plans and yearly budgets. So when we do strategic planning, we ask ourselves a number of questions. So who are we? What are our core values? And what do we want to take into the future? What socio-political needs do we address? And this is a question that relates to our linkage as a university with our national development, how we feed into our national development, and how do we address the socio-political needs of our society at large. And how do we respond to the demands of our stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Of course, the government is one of the stakeholders. The students are stakeholders, students and their families. Employers are stakeholders. So how do we relate to their needs? And then what makes us unique and distinctive? So how do we build on our strengths, and how are we distinctive and yet complementary to other players in our environment, in our sector, in our higher education sector? And then finally, who are our students and how do we meet their needs? Do we know our students? Do we know who they are? Do we know what they expect? Do we have an idea how we should respond to this? And do we know whether we are meeting their needs? And then usually once we have defined our mission, we have addressed these questions, then we do a SWOT analysis, the famous SWOT analysis, where we look into both the external environment, so what are the opportunities and threats. We look into issues about upcoming student demographics, so how many more students do we will need to cater for in the future. As I mentioned, what are their needs, what are their expectations. We will look into questions of future resource availability and resource development strategies. We will look into questions of new societal needs. And then, of course, there may be questions like the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic popping up. And then, of course, we have sometimes to react very quickly from one day to the other to deal with a changing environment and then very rapidly adapt to emerging crises. And when we look into our internal environment, we will ask questions like, what are our particular strengths? Where are we doing very well? Where do we need to build on, to widen, to expand? What do we need to cut? Also a question of academic planning. Are there some programs where we do not have enough student demand, which are very costly? Sometimes we want to keep them because they are very important. They offer something very important and very unique to our academic offer. But sometimes we may want to think also, well, there are not enough students, perhaps another university can do this program better because they are better placed to do this. So it's this constant seeking for match between the external opportunities and threats together with our internal strengths and weaknesses that provides us with direction for our objectives. And when we define our objectives, they have to be smart. Now we talk about smart objectives. They have to be specific, measurable, accurate, reachable, and timely. So we have to be very precise. We have to operationalize the objectives into using indicators through which we want to measure their achievement. And so when we set out achievement indicators, then we have to be very specific also about our objectives. And sometimes in the process of defining our strategic plan, we have to look at our objectives together and we have to ask ourselves, is there overlap? Are they together creating synergies, or do we need to readjust when we look at all our objectives together? And then, of course, we have to implement the objectives. And this is, of course, the major task of managing a university. Implementing our objectives is basically, it's about university management in general. And then finally, when we do our evaluation at the end of a strategic plan, we also need to reflect over our objectives. Have they been the right one? Do we need to readjust? Where do we need to change? Yeah, and then monitoring and evaluation of our plan. So as I mentioned already, we define quantitative targets for monitoring, and they not only for the high-level strategic objectives of the multi-year plan, but also for annual plans. And then we define monitoring and evaluation procedures. So who will be in charge of collecting data and compiling the data and using it for either yearly or multi-yearly evaluation procedures. And then we have to also translate our objectives into resource allocation mechanisms. And that is a link that is often missing in plans. And it is one of the crucial reasons why academic planning sometimes fails, because this linkage is missing. So we do not go from our multi-year strategic plans into yearly plans, and then the yearly plans need to be translated, as I mentioned, into resource allocation decisions. And then we also have to be concerned with establishing incentives for staff that confirm our priorities. When we want to develop something new, for instance, now, what is on the mind of many university CEOs is actually the move from face-to-face teaching into blended learning or into online learning. So then we also need to define on incentives to motivate staff to move into this direction. But, and here is my but, and perhaps this is a point for reflection. So we have our intended strategy. We have defined a strategy. University management has defined a strategy collectively. And this is what Henry Mintzberg, another management guru, called in his book, Rise and Fall of Strategic Planning, calls the deliberate strategy. So we are at top level management, we define our strategy, and part of it moves into a realized strategy. But there is also something which is called emergent strategies. And I think this is something that has to do with the nature of our organizations. Universities are highly decentralized organizations. They are expert organizations. So the academic staff have a lot of autonomy over what's going on in the teaching and learning and in the researching.
Michaela, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay, I will move very quickly.
Sure.
So we have these emergent strategies, and I think a task of the university management is actually to bundle these emerging strategies and move them into the intended strategies. Okay, now the link between IQA and strategic planning. Now, I think there are 2 links which are really important, 2 types of links. There is the upstream link. So it is the strategic plan that typically defines a framework, it should define a framework for internal quality assurance. So the plan determines the place of quality in the university strategy. And the quality policy, the policy that defines the framework for our IQA, needs to reflect the value of the mission statement. So I think here we have to definitely link for a clear element of alignment and synergy. But also the plan can give objectives for the development of IQA. So in the way that the plan defines the place of quality in the strategy of the university, it can also define concrete actions like setting up of an IQA, internal quality assurance structures, and defining already the procedures that are to be implemented. And the plan may provide guidance or should provide guidance on the link between IQA and other management areas. For instance, how IQA should interrelate with human resource planning. So if we, with our IQA, we are able to identify that in a particular program, certain competencies are not developed because there's certain courses that are simply missing, perhaps we need to also relate this into our human resource planning. Now, there is also a downstream link. So IQA can help to design the monitoring and evaluation system. It can suggest indicators, and it can allow responsibilities for data collection. For instance, we can get very interesting indicators from student satisfaction surveys that we can use for our monitoring and evaluation system associated to the plan. And of course, internal quality assurance can generate feedback on the implementation of the strategy and therefore inform selected monitoring information, monitoring indicators. So it can help IQA, internal quality assurance, can help both to define indicators, but also provide information on the follow-up of indicators. And IQA also provides very important information, of course, on the appropriateness of the curriculum, on the management system. I mentioned already human resources, but broader organizational development, and also the preparation of future strategic plans. And then at a macro level, it provides information actually on the implementation of strategic objectives. And then I think there's a very important element that needs to be thought through, which is the relationship between internal quality assurance and the management information system. Because in the way that we define our internal quality assurance, the types of procedures that we put in place, more precisely the types of surveys that we put in place, perhaps employer surveys, perhaps tracer studies, perhaps student satisfaction surveys, that also has an impact on our information systems and shapes these information systems, because with IQA we create information needs, and which we then have to address.
You have a minute more, Michaela.
I'm finishing with the last slide.
Okay.
That, Peter, I have been too long. So here, just very shortly, some points how to create the strategic planning. So I think we have to establish a coherence between university mission, its strategic objectives, and the quality policy of our IQA. And then I think that is an even more important point. It's about setting the calendar for an institutional evaluation planning cycle. So we have to make sure that our institutional evaluations, this is one of the IQA mechanisms, that it feeds into our planning cycle. So we have to really design an evaluation planning cycle, and that has to very much to do with the calendar that we set for IQA and for planning, and the two have to be connected. I mentioned already the third point, that there has to be a link between IQA, the human resource planning, and organizational development. And perhaps a final point, and I want to stop here, that there has to be also a link between the procedures and the organizational structure. So what we actually need is university leadership taking charge of both planning and internal quality assurance, and supervising both and making sure that the two interact. So I want to stop here and sorry for being a little bit long. It's a big topic, I think, and I hope that I have been able to convey some broad messages.
Absolutely,
so thank you very much,
absolutely, Peter. Absolutely. Michaela Martin, you have done it so very well. I know from the exchange you and I had, you're going to leave in about 10 minutes. So we, on behalf of all the participants, we are 568, 566 now, to thank you most sincerely for finding the time to join us and share the deep experiences that you have just narrated with us. We will go on to the next presentation. That will be for about 15 minutes by Dr. Biodun Saliu, Expectations of NUC, of Directors of Academic Planning. What does NUC expect of you? But before Professor Biodun Saliu takes the floor, I'd like to, Professor Saliu, okay, fine, no problem. I know that in changing the baton or button, you're very smooth. I mean, when you're called on, you don't waste time. Say, should I share my screen? And it takes 1 hour for you to share your screen. We deeply appreciate that. Now, I'd like to recognize Professor Chiedu Mafiana, the immediate past president of African and former deputy executive secretary, acting executive secretary of NUC, Vice Chancellor Professor Ebiyinka Fuakpe. We can't thank you enough for participating. And there are several vice chancellors, about 25 vice chancellors in the room as I speak. VC Mandi Top University, Professor Elijah Ayolabi, VC Abuad, the great professor of law, Professor Miranda Olarinde, Professor Suleiman Ramon Yusuf, former Deputy Executive Secretary of NUC, Professor Malam Mande, Madam Wosilatu Ainodion, who is the registrar of our Virtual Institute, Professor Tony Kola Olusonya, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Osun State University, Ambassador Professor Joy Yisi, Professor Omolade Oladele, one of our veterans in the training program, a great veterinary surgeon, Professor Joshua Obaleye, Dr. Felicia Moore, Coal City University, Dr. Jebila Shuara, VC of Skyline, Ajit Kumar, Professor Ngozi Bajogo, Professor Tunde Owolabi, my Dean of Education, Professor Johnson Fatokun, Professor Timothy Anake of Covenant University, and Dr. Munirat Maliki, and several others. We'll be recognizing you as we go along, but there's no way I can recognize that 576 people in the room now. So I'm just picking a handful of you. The others, you are very recognized. So my pleasure to hand over for 15 minutes to our host DAP, Expectations of NUC, of Director of Academic Planning in the Nigerian University System. Take the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, our Facilitator General, Your Excellencies. It is my pleasure to also welcome you again to this training session, which is more on academic planning. I'll be speaking to us on the expectations of NUC, of Directors of Academic Planning in the Nigerian University System. But it is important for us to understand the fact that increase in students' enrollment, issues of access, declining financial resources, and issues that border on quality delivery and output are some of the major challenges we have in universities all over the world, or in many parts of the world. And the academic planning unit, generally in the Nigerian university system, gained ascendancy in the early 1980s. And this was in response to the need to coordinate and streamline academic programs and activities arising from the sudden and sometimes uncoordinated growth and development, proliferation of programs and units and the likes. And also the need to address the challenge of data collection and management to guide the development of university education in Nigeria. Now, talking about the orderly development of universities in Nigeria, they can be viewed from two major perspectives. That is the orderly development with respect to compliance to the minimum standards often developed developed by the National Universities Commission, and also from the angle of the university's made stipulated academic requirements. So all these are necessary for the orderly development of the Nigerian university system. I'll just go straight to what the expectations are of the NUC on the directors of academic planning. First of all, NUC expects the universities to establish their directorates of academic planning. And they should, in establishing the directorate, have the various components of the units in place. I try to show the various components in this slide using the organogram of what a typical directorate of academic planning should look like. And you find that the directorate of academic planning reports is placed or is in the Vice Chancellor's office, and there are 5 sections as shown on the screen to help the proper operation of the Directorate of Academic Planning in the university. And so we expect that every unit, you'll find their functions as listed here. I may not waste too much time here, but the function of each unit or each session, I beg your pardon, is listed as seen here. For academic resource, it's my collection of analyzing data and things like that. And then all annual update projections and analysis and interpretation of data for planning that they focus on in the section. We also have the academic program and feedback. This is also very important with respect to institutional academic staff workload, areas of specialization, research output and the likes, and they have other functions they also carry out in that section. The process planning will use data collected for projections and advise university on the areas of concern, and also assist NUC and the university to identify new guidelines and to modify existing ones as may be directed by the university of what to have the institutional research, statistics and publications. These are the functions of that section. And then of course the secretarial service section, which is normally on the secretarial duties of the academic planning directorate. Now the second is that the DAPs, NUC expect the DAPs to be a liaison between it, that is the commission, and the universities. And we found out that this liaison is normally done in the area of program establishment, for instance, when we have resource verification for program establishment, when we have the usual accreditation of institutions or programs during inspection and monitoring. Another academic matters that may have to do with getting one information or the other for the universities, or even visits to the universities, because the link to the universities are usually through the directors of academic planning. And this has been on for some time, that if we don't have this link in place, even this, the exercises that are listed on the screen and many others may not be able to hold our own properly if this link is not in place. So we have, they help us, we expect that they create or be that link between the universities and the National Universities Commission. Now, the third one, expectation on the DAPs, is that we expect them to provide data on various aspects of university operations. And this is a challenging area for us in the Nigerian university system. So I try to change that, and we've been able to succeed to a very large extent. At least working with the DAPs, we've been able to generate data that the system will need internally, and even the global higher education landscape will also need to know about the Nigerian university system. Just to share some of the data and information we have received through the directors of academic planning some data are used in the publication of the state of university education in Nigeria, and then the statistical digest of our Nigerian university system. As you know, these are the covers of the various publications where we have in this area from data we collect from the universities. We also have even the issue of the full professors. Even though the professors enter this data, the directors of academic planning in the respective universities play a major role in ensuring that they certify with their vice chancellors that the professors are staff of their universities. And from such data, we've been able to produce documents like the Directory of Principal Officers in the Nigerian university system. We have also done the ranking of Nigerian universities, I mean, with cooperation and collaboration with the DAPs of universities. This couldn't have been possible if they are not there to provide the necessary data and, most importantly, validate this data for us to be able to rank the university system. In fact, the ranking we just produced, had recently was done jointly by the NUCs and the directors of academic planning. And the fourth expectation is the development and update of universities' academic brief. I mean, this document is a very important document for every university. We expect that every university should have its academic brief. It's like, it's a strategic document that needs to produce to guide the development and the growth of the university in the system. It's a 10-chapter document, and to have the narratives on the various chapters that needs to be provided, and the part that the volume that makes provision for the programs that will be run in the university. To have on the DAPs to ensure that this is done or as and when due. Because when you produce a document, it's only valid for 10 years. And by the time the 10 years is over, you will need to also review the document. So what we see the directors of academic planning do is to get this document in place for the university system, and from there, they are also able to plan their program offerings. They are also able to plan their research policy and other important things that are needed in the university system. So in conclusion, there's no doubt that we continue to rely on the strong relationship we have built over the years with the directors of academic planning in the Nigerian university system, and that the DAPs continue to be relevant to our operations in the commission, and indeed in their respective universities will also be relevant to the operations of their universities. And so these expectations the NUC has on DAPs, we will together, in response to those expectations positively, we can be sure that the Nigerian university system will continue to move forward and make the needed difference that we need to make in our national economy and also globally. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. This is very brilliant. This is very, very brilliant. Professor Duebelu, you've just shown to us that you are the master of academic planning. This is very detailed. Oh, my goodness. I'm happy to welcome our participant from Botswana, our one and only VC, Professor Samson Anyolaja. VC Anyolaja, we welcome you all the way from Botswana. Yeah, I don't know what time you have. I think it will be like about 4 p.m. As I speak, I'm in Seattle, in Washington State, in the U.S. It's just gone up past 6 a.m. I had to wake up at 3 a.m. to be able to join you. So thank you, and we welcome you, Professor Samson Anyolaja. We'll now go to have a formal opening address by the Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, my boss, the great, His Academic Eminence, Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid, MNI, MFR, FNAL, HLR, to give us the opening address. That will be done by the Director of Academic Planning of National Universities Commission on behalf of the ES. That's Professor Biodun Saliu, who has just spoken with us. Professor Saliu, you still have the floor.
Thank you very much, sir. Your Excellencies, I bring you very warm greetings from the Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid, who would have loved to be here in this opening, but for exigencies of work, he is not able to make it. And he has directed that I present his address in this opening ceremony. So I'll go on to read his address. It is with great gratitude to God that I welcome you to Module 3 of the Virtual Institute for Capacity Building in Higher Education, which is focusing on the theory, practice, and future directions of academic planning in higher education. This module is coming after the successful execution of modules 1 and 2, which were and are still of immense benefit to participants and their institutions of primary assignment. The National Universities Commission believes that forward-looking organizations or institutions must place high premium on capacity building because the world of today, particularly higher education system, is very dynamic. Consequently, if employees of higher education systems must keep abreast of current developments that will retool them for greater efficiency and effectiveness, they must be trained and retrained. This is the reason the Commission instituted VICBHE for the benefit of NUC and Nigerian universities. All over the world, academic planning occupies a central place in the operations of universities. The same can be said of the National Universities Commission, where the Directorate of Academic Planning is central to the function of the Commission. In view of this importance, Module 3 is ushering in the series of modules that will give participants the opportunity to be trained on different aspects of academic planning. It is my sincere hope that academic planning matters will gain increased momentum in NUC and indeed the Nigerian university system at the end of this training. I cannot end this address without expressing my gratitude to the Facilitator General and Chairman, NUC Strategy and Advisory Committee, STRAFCOM, distinguished Professor Peter Okebokola, and our most respected members of STRAFCOM for their commitment and dedication to the successful implementation of the training modules of VICBHE. Our deep appreciation goes to the National Open University of Nigeria for their partnership with NUC in providing the needed technical support to I enjoin participants to take this training serious and be committed, or seriously, and be committed to the program guiding the implementation of the module. I wish you the very best in your resolve to building your capacities in different aspects of higher education, this time around on academic matters. On this note, I declare Module 3 of the Virtual Institute for Capacity Building in Higher Education, VICBHE, open. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, our Executive Secretary, Professor Abubakar Adamu Rashid, a great man indeed, a great visionary, and well, for his visionary and purposeful leadership of the Nigerian university system. We thank you, sir, Professor Noel Biodun Saliu, for presenting the opening address of our Executive Secretary. We have come to the end of the event, but we now need to take the vote of thanks. Not before I recognize Professor Isaac Buswat, who will be in charge of the practical sessions on Saturdays. Well, I failed to mention that Professor Joy Yisi will be in charge. She was Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic of National Open University of Nigeria. As I mentioned, this thing is powered by now. And you have all the VCs here and all the Deputy Vice Chancellors, past and present, of now are here, you know, to drive this whole thing. So we have Professor Isaac Buswat, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration. As I said, in charge of the practical sessions. VC, Professor Salisu Shehu. Professor Salisu Shehu, thank you for being part of this. From Ghana, Madam Colette Ama Kupati. From Burundi, Dr. Richard Dashimiye and Dr. Ramadan Yandwi and several others. So we deeply appreciate your being here. I can see Olutola Emma was there. Dr. Angie is also there. So I now invite the chairperson of the Committee of Directors of Academic Planning of Nigerian Universities, good afternoon, Professor Bolanle Akinwande of Lautech to move the vote of thanks, after which we will have the, there's an advert which Dr. Adewale should have played before, but he's going to give us that one, and then we have the national anthem and the event will be closed. Over to you, Professor Bolanle Akinwande.
Thank you very much, sir. I say good afternoon to all eminent personalities in the room. To everything that has a beginning, there must surely be an end. As we come to the end of the opening ceremony of the VICBHE Module 3 workshop, on behalf of my other participants, it is with a deep sense of honor, privilege, and humility that I have to express the vote of thanks to all dignitaries here present. Very special thanks to the special guests of honor, Professor Rukayatu Ahmed Rufai and Professor Nimi Briggs. I take immense pleasure in extending gratitude to Professor Yakubu Ochefu, Professor Juma Shabani, Professor Jimbo, and Professor Olushola Oyewole. Your eminent presence has indeed made this event a memorable one, and we unitedly thank you for the gracious presence. Sincere appreciation also to Adamu Rashid and Professor Olufemi Peters for their magnanimity in support of this exciting training program for directors of academic planning and others. I equally recognize and appreciate our own Dr. Biodu Sali, the Director of Academic Planning of NUC. I extend my appreciation also to Professor Michaela Martin for the fantastic keynote address. No event can be successful without people who devote their resources and time to ensure that everything is flawless. I treasure the efforts of Professor Peter Okebukola, the Facilitator General, and his team in diverse forms to ensure a smooth and successful opening ceremony and workshop. I thank all participants for making time out to attend this opening ceremony with the hope that the momentum will be sustained all through the sessions. I quite believe that all of us will be better off at the end of the workshop. Thank you, everyone, for taking time to be here today and for listening to me speak. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Have a great week.
Thank you so very much, our chairman, Kudapnu, Professor Bolanle Akinwande. That brings us to the end of the opening ceremony. The program for the training you already have, and we're going to follow that program as we have timetabled. So can I request Dr. Maybe we'll go back to the host, although we've not asked Professor Munioluwa Olaniyi. Have you a last word for us? And then you can invite.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can then invite Dr. Adewale Adesina to give us the noun video jingle and then give us national anthem, and we'll close the session. Back to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Facilitator General, sir. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted that you stayed through from beginning to the end. It's an honor to be part of the success story of the National Universities Commission through the StratCom. I am also grateful to the Facilitator General for giving me this opportunity. I especially want to recognize and thank the Vice Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, my boss, other colleagues from the National Open University of Nigeria. In closing, we want to say thank you very much to the Executive Secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Abubakar Rashid. On this note, I'd like to invite Dr. Adewale Adesina to give you our jingle. It's a new one, and we hope that you'll be encouraged to be part of the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
The National Open University of Nigeria gives its students access to world-class quality education in undergraduate and postgraduate programs.
Dr. Adesina, the volume is low and the video is not good enough. It's, yeah.
programs are accredited by NUC and relevant professional bodies.
We make education easy, accessible, affordable and reliable with our high-class facilities to aid your studies. We are spread across the 36 states of Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory, so you can study with us anywhere and at your pace without a barrier. We have a highly entrepreneurial and employability skills with our degrees, and it is recognized in any university across the world. At National Open University of Nigeria, we will support you every step of the way with one goal in mind: success. Take a step today, earn your degree with us. For further information, log on to www.nouonline.net. Now, university education without...
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So it's now time for the national anthem. Let me cue it up. Please may we rise as we take the national anthem. Thank you.
Again, thank you for being part of this opening ceremony. Today is January 31st. So God has seen us through the first month of 2022. We're going to march gallantly into February from tomorrow. And I wish you all very happy month of February. Thank you, and may God continue to bless us all. Bye-bye.